The Gloom District was his next destination, a place where shadows thrived and reality blurred. He moved quickly, his heart pounding as he retraced the steps from his earlier visit. The memory of the alley burned in his mind, a ghostly beacon guiding him toward the answers he desperately sought. As he approached the area south of the Spine District, a sense of dread washed over him. The landscape had changed since the memory had been etched into his mind. Buildings he remembered were gone, replaced by vacant lots and crumbling structures that looked as though they had been abandoned for years. Silas felt a surge of frustration. How could he find a place that no longer existed? But he pressed on, determined to uncover the truth. He wandered deeper into the maze of alleyways, searching for any sign of the ghostly location depicted in the memory. The atmosphere grew thicker, the air heavy with tension as he turned a corner and found himself facing a wall of graffiti. The artwork was chaotic, a riot of colors and shapes that seemed to tell a story of their own. He studied the mural, hoping for inspiration, but nothing resonated. Then, as he turned to leave, something caught his eye. A small hidden doorway, partially obscured by shadows. It was unmarked, a relic of the past that seemed out of place among the surrounding decay. His heart raced as he approached, the drive in his pocket pulsing with a faint energy. He pushed the door open and it creaked ominously, revealing a narrow staircase that descended into darkness. With a deep breath, Silas stepped inside, the door clicking shut behind him. The air was cool and damp, the sound of dripping water echoing in the silence. As he made his way down the stairs, his mind raced with possibilities. Who could be living here, and why would they choose to hide? The answers lay just out of reach, tantalizingly close yet shrouded in mystery. At the bottom of the staircase, he found himself in a dimly lit room, filled with mismatched furniture and flickering screens. The walls were lined with old circuitry and cables, remnants of technology long forgotten. It was a makeshift hideout, a sanctuary for someone who had evaded the watchful eyes of the city. And then he saw her. A woman sat hunched over a table, her fingers flying across a keyboard as she navigated through a series of complex code. Her hair was dark and wild, framing her face in a chaotic halo. Silas felt a jolt of recognition. He had seen her before in the memory. "Who are you?" he demanded, stepping forward. She turned, surprise flickering across her features before being replaced by a guarded expression. "You shouldn't be here." "Neither should you," Silas shot back, his heart racing. "You're not supposed to exist." The woman narrowed her eyes, her posture shifting as she assessed him. "And yet here I am. You're the one who's been poking around in things that don't concern you." "I'm here because of this," Silas replied, pulling out the memory drive. "You know what it is, you know what's happening." Her gaze flickered to the drive, then back to him. "You're playing a dangerous game, Silas. You have no idea what you're getting into." "Try me," he challenged, his voice steady despite the uncertainty swirling in his mind. She sighed, pushing back from the table. "Fine. But if you want answers, you're going to have to earn them. There are forces at play that are far beyond your understanding. You're not ready for this." "Tell me what you know," he insisted, unwilling to back down. "I've seen my death. I need to know how to change it." The woman's expression softened slightly, as if she recognized the weight of his desperation. "What you saw was a projection, a potential future. But it's not set in stone. You have the power to change it. But first, you need to understand the truth about the memory market." Silas felt a flicker of hope. "Then tell me." She crossed her arms, her expression resolute. "The memory market is a playground for those who wish to manipulate reality. People like you, who seek to alter their pasts or change their futures, become pawns in a much larger game. There are those who thrive on chaos, who rewrite memories to control the narrative." "Who?" Silas pressed, urgency creeping into his voice. "Names don't matter," she replied, shaking her head. "What matters is that you are caught in the crossfire. The memory you've been given is a warning. Yes, but it's also a trap. Someone wants you to follow their path, to play into their hands." "Why?" he asked, grappling with the enormity of her words. "Because you're a threat," she said simply. "Your ability to see potential futures means you're a target. They want to eliminate you before you can disrupt their plans." Silas felt the weight of her words settle in his chest. He was a pawn, caught in a game he didn't fully understand, but he couldn't afford to be passive. He had to take control. "What do I need to do?" he asked, determination hardening his resolve. "Follow the clues," she said, her tone serious. "Find the source of the memory and uncover the truth. But remember, you're not alone in this. There are others who want to help you. who are also trying to fight against the manipulation of reality. Seek them out and you might just find the answers you need. Silas nodded, a sense of purpose igniting within him. He wouldn't let fear dictate his actions any longer. The clock was ticking, and he would not allow himself to become a victim of fate. As he turned to leave, the woman's voice stopped him. Wait, if you're serious about this, you'll need a guide. Someone who knows the ins and outs of the memory market. Who? He asked, intrigued. Find Jax again, he's connected. He'll know who to trust. Silas felt a surge of gratitude. Thank you. Just remember, she warned, her gaze piercing, the truth can be more dangerous than you realize. He nodded, determined to uncover the secrets that lay ahead. With renewed purpose, Silas stepped back into the shadows, ready to confront the challenges that awaited him. End of Chapter 3. Chapter 4. A street that doesn't exist. Silas stood where the memory said it had happened. South Spine District Block G. Officially, it didn't exist. The Metro map showed nothing, no street, no records. Just a blank patch of gray in the system, a digital blind spot. But the old grid overlays Mara had given him told a different story. Chapel Row, burned down in a utility fire years ago, or so the file claimed. When Silas stood on that cracked, overgrown road at dusk, he felt a disquiet settle in his gut. It didn't feel abandoned, it felt deliberately forgotten. Street lamps flickered weakly, casting ghostly shadows that danced on the pavement. An old vendor bot buzzed quietly in the alley, jammed in an idle loop, advertising tea no one had ordered in a decade. The sounds of the city faded away, leaving only the echoes of a past that should have been erased. You shouldn't be here. The voice came from behind him, young, soft female. He turned, heart racing. A girl stood in the doorway of what looked like a collapsed storefront. She was clad in a pale hoodie, her tangled hair framing a face that seemed too old for her years. Her eyes shimmered in the fading light, glinting with the weight of memories that felt far too heavy for someone so young. You know this place? He asked, curiosity mingling with caution. She looked past him, her gaze drifting to the shadows. No one's supposed to remember it. Not after what they did. They? She hesitated, biting her lip as if grappling with the gravity of her words. People who delete things. People like me? He ventured, uncertainty creeping into his voice. She studied him, her expression shifting. No, you erase things people ask you to forget. These people erase things that shouldn't be remembered at all. Like this street? Like me, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Silas stared at her, confusion and intrigue battling within him. Who are you? She stepped back into the shadows, her form fading against the backdrop of decay. I'm someone who died here twice. The weight of her words sank into him like lead. And I think you did too, she added, her voice trailing off as she melted into the darkness. Silas's stomach turned. This was bigger than someone sending him a death warning. Someone had already killed him here more than once, and now they were trying to erase the evidence from the world's memory, including his own. He took a shaky breath, the chill of the evening air wrapping around him like a shroud. What's your name? He called out, desperation creeping into his tone. The girl paused, her silhouette barely visible in the gloom, as if weighing the cost of remembering. Aaron, she replied, her voice echoing softly in the stillness. Then she turned and vanished down the alley, leaving Silas alone in the dead street. He stood there, heart pounding, feeling the weight of the revelation settle heavily in his chest. What did it mean to die twice, and why did it feel so familiar? Silas didn't follow her. Instead, he remained rooted to the spot, staring into the shadows where she had disappeared. He whispered to the wind, "What the hell did I forget?" As he turned to leave the forgotten street, Silas felt a sense of urgency growing within him. Aaron's words weighed heavily on his mind. If this street had been erased from memory, how many others had suffered the same fate? He needed to know more about her, more about the forces that had conspired to erase their existence. He made his way back toward the main avenues of the city, the neon lights blaring to life as night descended. The streets were filled with a mix of people, some lost in their own worlds, others caught up in the chaos of the city. Silas navigated through the throng, the memory drive pulsing softly against his chest, a reminder of the ticking clock that loomed over him. He needed to investigate who Aaron really was. If she had died here twice, there had to be a record of it somewhere. The city had its ways of keeping secrets, and Silas was determined to dig them out. He decided to return to the rusty wrench where he had first met Jax, hoping the fixer could provide more insight. As he stepped through the bar's door, the familiar atmosphere washed over him. Smoky air, the low hum of conversations, and the clinking of glasses. Jax was at the bar, leaned back against the counter, chatting with the bartender. When he noticed Silas approaching, he straightened, a knowing look crossing his face. Chapter 3, False Origins. Silas didn't go home. He never did when something didn't make sense. The thought of returning to the empty confines of his apartment felt suffocating, a reminder of the life he had built, now overshadowed by uncertainty and impending doom. Instead, he made his way through the underlevel corridors beneath the East Array Transit Hub, where the flickering neon signs disguised rust, mold, and the rot of forgotten tech. The air was thick with the scent of damp concrete and the hum of machinery, a constant reminder of the city's relentless pulse. He navigated the labyrinthine passageways with practiced ease, dodging puddles of murky water that pooled in the uneven floor. His destination was hidden behind a maintenance door with a painted-over keypad and a fake out-of-order sign, a relic of a bygone era. He keyed in the code 30913. The door clicked open, revealing a hidden world that thrived in the shadows. Inside was a forgotten vault of obsolete neural servers and decommissioned AI code farms, now occupied by Mara Vale, the best black market memory analyst in Neo-London. Mara looked up from a cracked holoscreen, her sharp features illuminated by the flickering blue light of the display. She had an aura of quiet confidence, a woman who thrived in chaos. "Silas, that desperate already?" she asked, arching an eyebrow as she tilted her head. "I have a ghost," he said, his voice steady despite the turmoil churning within. Mara's eyebrow twitched, a spark of interest igniting in her eyes. From the drift. From the future. That got her attention. The air between them shifted, heavy with the implications of his words. 15 minutes later, Mara had the drive suspended in a zero-light scanner. Blue light danced around it in slow pulses, casting ethereal shadows that flickered across her face. Silas leaned against the wall, anxiety gnawing at his insides as he watched her work. "It's clean, no forger tags, no bootleg threads. This is your memory," she confirmed, her fingers flying over the controls. Silas nodded grimly, from 10 days ahead. Mara's eyes widened slightly and she exhaled slowly, as if processing the weight of the revelation. "Which means someone accessed your neural template, projected a potential memory, and embedded it in this drive using a collapsed sync. The implications hung between them, heavy and unsettling. That's impossible. The tech's theoretical," she muttered, shaking her head. "Apparently not," Silas replied, steeling himself against the wave of dread that threatened to crash over him. Mara tapped her stylus against her lips, her brow furrowing in concentration. "If this is real, the person who gave it to you didn't just want to warn you. They wanted you to change something," Silas suggested, his mind racing with possibilities. Mara leaned in, her gaze piercing. "Or make sure I didn't." Silas frowned, the words echoing in his head like a sinister refrain. Mara turned the scanner toward him, her expression serious. "There's more. The memory's location. Neo-London Alley, south of the Spine District?" Silas nodded, recalling the vivid imagery from the memory. "That street doesn't exist anymore. It was wiped from the urban archive 3 months ago." He stared at her, processing the revelation. "You're saying the place in my memory doesn't exist?" "No. I'm saying someone erased it," Mara clarified, her voice laced with urgency. As the pieces began to fall into place, a chill ran down Silas's spine. "Who would do that?" Mara's eyes darkened with concern. "Someone is controlling reality by rewriting memory. Locations, events, people. And they just made you part of the story," she concluded, her tone grave. Silas felt the ground shift beneath him, the magnitude of the situation dawning on him. He left Mara's lab with the drive in his pocket and his mind spinning. The wall seemed to close in as he navigated the corridors, the shadows whispering secrets he was not yet ready to confront. Someone had given him a countdown, a ticking clock that threatened to unravel everything he knew. But the bigger question wasn't how they'd sent him his own death. It was this: what memory had he already forgotten with that got him killed? He stepped out into the night, the cool air hitting him like a slap. The streets of Neo-London pulsed with life, but he felt detached, as if he were merely a spectator in a world that had become increasingly surreal. Each face he passed seemed to harbor untold secrets, and he wondered if any of them knew the truth about the forces at play.